Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to discuss the Boxing Day thriller at the Villa, it's my namesake, Mr. Daniel Rhodes, a resident, our data collection expert, back on the pressing duty, Rhodesy, over Christmas, I believe.
Yes.
Which day was it? Which day did you do the pressing collection?
The 27th.
Well, hopefully it wasn't that too intensive for you.
It wasn't exciting as a football because there was a lot of chances and quite a few failed presses from both sides. But yeah, some of the on-ball quality was excellent.
Yeah, so you got to see that in super slow-mo again, at least.
Pressing, as we'll come on to. Yeah. Happy Christmas to all the listeners and subscribers in particular.
Yeah, but such is the life of data collection, Rosie. You have to do it on the 27th of December as well, you know.
We've got another one coming up as well after Brentford.
Absolutely. Right. Is Gags on Leicester?
Gags is on Leicester.
Excellent. So Gags is doing some work for once.
He always does all the Midlands ones.
Right. and you might have been watching some video on our new signing, on some new Wisecap footage on our new signing.
Yes, player I'd only really seen in the World Cup.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that at the end, hopefully, as well. But we only have one half of our dynamic sports science duo with us. But good news for everybody. He's not coming from an ivory tower. He's actually coming from the training pitch. It's Mr. Simon Brundish.
Afternoon, boys. Morning, boys. Morning. This is unique, eh?
This is new.
Yeah. Morning.
Yeah, very, very rare occurrence. How's things, Si? How was your birthday?
Yeah, birthday was great. Life is good. Christmas is Christmas. Do you find you've got older kids now? Do you find it gets a bit weird as they get a bit older? Like it changes?
Yeah, dynamic changes. Yeah.
Definitely. We're going through that phase right now. It's a bit boring. And
just to confirm to everybody, Si, that you are going for an MRI scan after playing Laser Quest. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah.
And which part of the body are you getting scanned?
Left knee.
Okay. So this means you're officially old now. Yeah.
48 is officially old. Yeah.
Because you may get serious injuries playing Laser Quest.
Or getting out of the shower, which is how they usually occur. But yeah.
He was in the red zone.
Not enough exercise over Christmas. He was in the red zone. He wasn't prepared to play Laser Quest.
Too many
Right. Okay. So what we're going to do is, before we talk about Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 3, we are going to very, very briefly talk about the League Cup game on the 23rd of December against Man City. We lost 3-2. I personally was very, very happy that we lost this game. I know it's a bizarre thing to say, but I said it on the pre-season pod, we really need to, in this season of seasons, we really need to go out of the domestic cups in the earliest opportunity because the season has no slack. And we still have 2 games against Chelsea and Wolves to try and squeeze somehow into the second half of this season. So, boys, did you share that emotion? Were you kind of happy to see us go out? And what did you think of the Reds' performance? And generally, Rhodes, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, always delighted to see us go out of the League Cup. Have been for years. Nice little interlude last year. But yeah. It was a fun game to come back to.
Any thoughts on the performance?
Similar traits to the Villa one. We conceded lots of big chances. Man City could have been out of sight. Their keeper didn't make a save and ours made 5. But there was also some really good spots in there, I thought. Nunez couldn't hit a barn door again, and we'll come on to that again for the Villa game. Yeah. It's due. I think it's like 6, 7 big chances in a row now.
Yeah. Yeah, 1-0 going eventually. But it was a bit kind of men against boys, wasn't it? Really, unfortunately, and we did have quite a few young lads out, and it did show, didn't it? We were really, in terms of the pressing, in terms of the intensity and the physicality. Yeah.
Physicality in particular. We did have a weak defence, you could say. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think so. And they exploited it.
Yeah. Si, thoughts on City?
Well, I was working, so I missed the game. So I've seen it in retrospect. And my information about the game was basically the analysis that you guys were putting in the group while I was watching the game. And then I looked at Twitter, which is always a terrible idea. I think you could just leave it there. It's always a terrible idea. But then gradually watched the game over the next 3 days, and I thought we weren't anywhere near as bad as I was expecting us to be.
Oh, right.
City weren't anywhere near as dominant in terms of ripping us apart as I expected to be. A couple of their biggest chances would have been offside anyway. But like that, it makes it feel like it was way worse than it actually was. They could have scored a couple of goals. We could have easily scored a couple more goals. Our finishing is shite, but we were kind of creating chances still against ostensibly the best team in the world. And they put out their best team in the world with
pretty much. They were pretty strong. They were pretty strong. Yeah.
They basically went, here are 9 best players, or you swap the keeper out. So eight best outfield players, and we'll put 2 kids in. And we had a hodgepodge of players of our starting 11 with 2 lads at centre back who had played 1 game before, Milner at right back. Come on now. And then tiny little fellas dotted around the pitch.
Yeah.
I
think it's fair to say we got significantly better as the game went on. The first quarter, the first half an hour was particularly bad, I thought.
As you bring normal sized humans on.
I think it's as simple as that, Si, yeah?
I think it's very simple, and it's very related to that. And I would liken it after my first half viewing. I likened it to we've gone through an evolution that Wenger went through, where he came into the country, saw what was needed, bought loads of big, huge lads, reinvented the game in that Arsenal created this powerful team that had never been seen before of warriors.
Yeah.
And then he got too clever and started to bring little short fellas in and
technicians,
technical the team. Yeah. And then they lost forever, and they're rubbish. and hopefully Klopp corrects this, and the Gakpo thing potentially is the bookend to a period where he thinks that we think that we're so good we can have dwarfs in the team.
Right. So you're talking about the Aaron Ramsey, Cesc Fabregas, what was the English lad's name? The English centre mid. I can't remember his name now. One who's always injured.
Wilshere.
You're talking about that era, Si?
Yeah. But it just got way too small, because before that they had Vieira.
Yeah, plus the defenders.
On the wings there was Ljungberg and Ljungberg, Wiltord and Pires, who were all 5'10", 6 foot ish.
And Henry up front was not small.
Henry replaced by Van Persie, all 6 foot.
Yeah, big lads. Yeah, interesting. Are
you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
One of the things better put to bed.
One of the things, the soft tissue injury, say. Any thoughts on that? Because the World Cup, 2 players who don't go to the World Cup, we do 3 weeks in Dubai, and then Bobby gets injured the day before the match, and then Milner during the match, both soft tissue. Anything to be concerned about here?
I'm concerned in that it's becoming a thing. In isolation, people occasionally pick up soft tissue injuries, and that's like a little bit of a calf strain. A soft tissue injury, we're talking really muscle pulls.
Yeah.
I'm not even going down ligament issues, just muscle pulls. And that's the stuff strength and conditioning coaches feel like is our fault.
Yeah.
We planned badly.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a regular repeating occurrence going on this season and into last season. And we've now had 7 games this season in which we've had to bring off an injured player. And
7.
between 18-19 to 2021, was that a good season? 2 good seasons, 2 best elite seasons. It happened twice.
Yeah.
In 107 games. And now it's happened 17 times in 24?
Wow.
And it's just there is something going on. It's too much. We're taking too many risks, or we've
also
badly.
say these 2 players in particular have had a lot of soft tissue injuries over the last 2 years, and a lot of it could it be fair to say is age related?
Yeah. Well, previous injury is cause of future injury. So I've had 1 hamstring pull, and I'm 48. So it's not to age, and I do a lot of exercise.
But Bobby's had a lot of muscle pulls in the last 2 years, and Milner's always hamstring and groin calf. Calf.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of them have had. So maybe their loading strategies aren't right, because I don't believe in their recovery strategies are spot on. Both of them are incredibly dedicated.
Yeah,
but potentially that they get thrown in. They're first replacements, aren't they? So they get thrown in. Maybe they're not topped up, so they're ready to go, or maybe their bodies just aren't capable of playing the amount of football that's been asked of them, even the reduced amount of football that's been asked of them. I think Milner probably should have retired 2 years ago. If you listen to his body's going no. So what should happen is he either goes down a level where he's not asked, the physical demands aren't as high, or you just have enough people in the squad where you expect him to be injured and he just doesn't play, and that's fine.
Just for fun, right? Si, just say James Milner does leave Liverpool at the end of this season, right? And he drops down to the Championship or League One. Do you think he could play at that level without potentially getting too many injuries? Because
No, I don't. I just think there's less consequence if he gets injured. That's all.
Okay, so he'll still get injured even if he's at League One, yeah.
Oh God, yeah. The League One's League One lit. Oh well, no. Championship has more high-speed run demands than the Premier League.
Wow.
So it's just hard, and they play a lot of games.
Yeah, they do
as well. So yeah, I don't know if there's a way of the age just catches up with you, and as well as he's prepared his body over his life, he got a couple of injuries which then vary in all likelihood do lead to further injuries, because there are always some kind of muscle compensation. If you have some scar tissue, you can't build up that muscle. It doesn't fire in the same way, and there are compensations down the chain repeating the same skills. That's all.
But I think the good news on injuries is I don't think there was any fresh ones after Villa, right? Correct?
Yeah. It seems that today there was no injuries, which is awesome. At this time of year, because December is the most injured month.
Oh, so Bobby and Milner are back in training?
No new injuries.
Oh, no new injuries. Excellent.
Bobby is back in training today. Excellent.
Okay. So leading on to Villa, just specifically with the Bobby injury, I guess, in mind, what did he make of our system, Si? Was it a change of system, or did we attempt to go 4-3-3? How did you see us in the different phases of this?
It's the 4 phases. So we still build the same way, right? So you still need in depends on which areas of the pitch, right, and where the ball is, but they still expect 3 players to be in a certain area of the pitch when, say, their left back has got the ball, and they'll still expect 3 players to be in the same area of the pitch when their centre midfielder's got the ball, right? But then also inversely, when Trent's got the ball, we need 3 players on one line, 1 player on a different line, 2 more players on a different line, and then another player on a different line. and how we create those shapes changed, if that makes sense. So typically, the Liverpool system would have had Mane coming from deep, making a run, Mo staying high, making a run inside, and Bobby dropping off and having his space filled by either Mane or Robbo, which would have had Robbo going past him, or Mo coming inside. Yeah, depending on who's got the ball. So what happened now was they all start in the same 4-3-3 shape. It's just that Ox was dropping, instead of being the deeper man making the running behind. He was coming inside to make Bobby's space, to take where Bobby's space, and allowing Nunez to cut outside, then inside to stay up high. And Mo was doing the same thing. And
then Robertson on the overlap on that side. Yeah,
exactly. So Ox was being the much more of the Bobby-like connector.
Yeah. Or trying to be, yeah. And interestingly, Trent was deeper again, wasn't he? He didn't go on this crazy trying to get into the 10 position all the time and stuff that he was.
No, Hendo was doing the wild Hendo thing of getting up and down wide outright.
Okay.
So I don't know if this system worked in that I saw Ox coming into Thiago's space a lot. And Thiago was cutting. He was compressing play, coming right in alongside Fab to protect, because Hendo had a much more vertical role, and it led to having fewer options in the right spots. So Thiago would instantly, because Thiago, without looking, knows where Robbo is all times and would know where to make the pass just to his vertically to his left. But Ox would be very close to his feet, so there would it would remove that option. So it was a little bit less fluid down the left hand side than you would hope it to be.
Yeah.
And when we were in a positive transition space, it actually worked quite well, because Nunez had drifted out left, so he'd created that outlet that you would expect of the left wing. But in possession, it worked less well. So we were all building down the right hand side.
Okay. So you've touched on the lineups there briefly with some of the key additions. Si, Matip was back. So Matip and Van Dijk getting the band back together at centre-back, which was nice. And then Thiago, Fab, Henderson instead of Elliott on the right, and Ox instead of Baby Fab on the left, or Bobby. And I guess actually probably replacement in the team. But Rhodesy, we're going to talk about the pressing. I was going to talk about the pressing a bit later, but Si's already touched on some key points there. And you collected this game. I mean, can we just talk about Fabinho and Thiago? Because, I thought they were very conservative and very deep and very very together, but very conservative. What was your reading of it?
Yeah, they were. They were, and if you look at the data, it's quite interesting. They were quite conservative, and I think Fab had a failed press that led to one of their shots. I think maybe the second half. But the key for me, if you look at all the defenders, they all had 100% efficiency. So you've got a section, and they're are more reactive than the progressive pressing in the final third pressing that you might expect, with them compacting the play high. Definitely sitting deeper, and all our pressing was virtually in the middle third, so they weren't pushing on or even dropping that deep. We kind of kept them there when we were applying pressure anyway, and it was quite a change. Like you say, Henderson was pushing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the way I would say it, Rhodesy, is that what it shows in the pressing data is that Ox and Hendo came in almost like as a 2 ahead of Fab and Thiago. So it was almost like a box of 4 in the midfield. Yes. And they were doing, and Hendo and Ox were doing all the proactive stuff, or trying to be the more proactive stuff, particularly chasing down the Villa centre mids and Tyrone Mings. Whereas Fab and, a press every 6 minutes for Fab and Thiago, it is low. It's quite a,
Really frequent.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we expect it all, yeah.
Si, so box midfield. I mean, did you see that was that in all the phases, or just on without the ball? Like we'd be saying there that there's a clear box in midfield without the ball on the pressing side. What did you think in build up and stuff?
Well, I sometimes I think shape occurs in response to the opposition shape.
Of course.
So they had a box midfield.
Right.
And so I think those like the pressing shapes appear because we were pressing where they were stood, basically, and that's where they were. That's how they built. They had
so Wendy and McGinn were behind their front two, so it was all quite
Yeah. And really, Bailey was running off. He was coming deep and running off Watkins. So they had a 1 and a 1 really, than a 2, as much as they would like to call it a 2.
Yeah. Okay. Rhodesy, do you want to give us that match summary?
Sorry, it kind of worked to our advantage on the right-hand side because it allowed, when we had the ball, it allowed Hendo to go wide and he was committing their fullback.
Yeah.
Because Buendia had no interest in going, very rarely. And he was more interested in trying to occupy Trent, who couldn't care less because he was just awesome. But then it afforded, because they didn't have a 2 or a 3, which is very common, and Bailey was deeper, it allowed Matip to, I thought he helped control the tempo of the game a lot. From a possession-based structure, we are without shadow of a doubt better when Matip's playing.
Yeah. Because of the carrying.
Also, he carries the ball so well.
Into midfield, and he basically he commits Villa players towards him, which frees up more space and disrupts their shape,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely, I do agree with that. I mean, as good as Konate is, I agree with you. When Matip doesn't play, we do miss that particular aspect of his game, don't we? Maybe Matip wasn't that great on the defensive side in this game. I mean, we thought Ollie Watkins gave him quite a lot of trouble.
Watkins is a good player.
He is, yeah.
So I think sometimes we can easily get dragged into who played well, who didn't play well, and we so rarely afford the doubt to actually they're a good team. We talked about the first game. City are the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Did we play well or not? I don't know. Against the best team in the world, that should be the filter we're running it through. And Villa, but also some people say that we played great against Villa, but Villa are terrible. And they have
a couple of good players. Yeah.
But they're very much like Stevie created Bournemouth. And Unai Emery is going to shut them down and turn them into a Mourinho team again. But when you've got Bournemouth players and you're asking them to be defensive and tight, that's going to take a while to work out. And they're figuring it out right now. There were loads of spaces for our lads to play into. If Van Dijk and Matip get as much as the ball as they want and make as many progressive passing meters as they did in this game, they're just running the game. It wasn't side to side. It was just, they were just picking out holes in the structure of Villa constantly.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Rhodesy, we think you might have a couple of technical problems, but do you want to try giving us that match summary?
Yes, so attacking, excellent. Elite performance, defensively, poor. Pretty much our season review.
Really? That close, was it?
3.3 non-penalty XG away from home. First time we've ever had 7 big chances away from home under Klopp. We've had 6 twice against Man United. We once had 9 against Spurs under Rodgers, but that's high.
Yeah, it is.
0.21 average per shot over 16 shots is an incredible level of shot quality. But then it's the same old story, Dan. 4 big chances conceded. You can't keep doing that. I know it's a big chance difference of 3. It's an XG difference of 1.6 across the models. That's all excellent away from home. Second consecutive away win. But there are games where you're not going to create 7. And if we keep conceding 4 big chances a game, I think we're going to struggle to get top 4. I said 2 of my 3 requests were Nunez starts converting better and we concede less than 1 big chance a game.
Well, I think we're going to have to.
Good start.
No, I think we're going to have to defer that by 1 match, Rhodesy. But we did say that we needed a better start. You know, this is the 3rd restart of the season, and we needed a significantly better performance than Brighton and Fulham.
Yes.
I think we got that at least. Yes?
Absolutely. A bit of difference in the XG model ranges. Cayley went high at 3.8, 0.5. Yeah, he was by far the highest with an XG difference of 2. Opta, 2.71. With an XG difference of 1.26. So, and you had some interesting figures just before the breakdown about Opta's model and how it's marrying well with the whole sample of the shots that you've looked at. So I think you need to give a little bit more credit than I've been giving it. But Kale is usually one of our go-tos, and 3.8 from him.
Yeah, I think what's going to be is counter-attack and fast break and following take-ons and that kind of stuff, which we had so many of those kind of shots, which we'll come on to. But yeah. Just before we bring back Si and talk about the good stuff from us on the ball, 2 of those Villa chances came at 1-0, didn't they, in the first half hour of the game?
Yes, 13 and 16.
Yeah.
10 minutes, Bailey and Watkins.
Now, which one was first? Was it the Bailey one where he sort of slipped over? Was that the first one?
The Bailey one where kind of gets a slight deflection from Van Dijk from the cutback cross, and it just looks like it's slightly behind Bailey, but he completely fluffs it.
Yeah, so that was a big let off that, because he was about 12 yards out, nobody on him, huge. And he just kind of fallen over and he messes it up. And then the other one was Watkins, didn't he just shank it?
Was that 0.46 was a chance? He had another.
Didn't he just shank it wide? To the right.
I think that might have been offside, but it doesn't come up on the big chance list, so it wasn't counted as a big chance.
Right.
Ollie Watkins missed a header, completely fluffed that as well.
Oh yeah, he got under it, didn't he? Yeah. No, it's the one where he could have gone with his foot. He could have, if he really wanted to, he could have stretched out and he could have probably tapped it in with his left, But he went. He tried the diving header, didn't he? That's right. Yeah. But that to be fair, that was a brilliant cross. That one. There's nothing really you could do about that one defensively.
No, it was excellent.
Yeah, McGinn. I think it was McGinn.
Great run as well as Si was saying.
Yeah,
but I would say down my notes, I've got big chance fluffed 6 times
by Villa.
By all of us.
By all of us. Yeah. So definitely some things to work on in the numbers there, Rhodesy. But yeah, some good things and some things that we should need to change. ASAP.
We then had 3 big chances.
Yeah. All right. So, Si, let's talk about that good stuff. Let's talk about that fucking first goal. I mean, this is what you want, isn't it? Right? This was gorgeous.
Beauty earned by more Darwin work.
Wins the corner, yeah?
Yeah, it gets popped out, and we're smart enough to get back on side quickly. And Trent, it was actually a really good run from Robbo, who took the original corner. He got deep really quickly and made a really good run. And Trent saw it at the corner of his eye, picked him out with an unbelievable technique on the outside of his foot, which basically picked off 10 players. And then an equally unbelievable first touch pass from the outside of Robbo's left foot into the little genius in the box to tap it in, who also stayed on side twice.
Nice tribute to the packing there. I like that. Picking out all 10 players.
Unbelievable pass. I've heard some nice things said about it, but that is one of the great passes.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah. One of Trent's best.
But the vision of which, he didn't just pass it into an area. He saw Robbo go. If you look from the wide angle, Robbo had taken 2 steps at that point by the time Trent put his head down to make contact with that pass. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's got a full
that is the quality. That is the quality that this team has, that these players have, that they can produce if Klopp can figure out how to fix the structure problems.
Yeah.
It's an incredible array of sample of quality passes that he's made in his life as well, Si, for you to say that's one of his best.
Oh, God, yeah. Really, you see those kids that are amazing at putting clips together on the internet these days. I don't know how you'd make a video less than 2 hours long of Trent's passes.
Don't tempt me.
Well, there was one before from the club account just before Christmas of all Trent's goals for Liverpool, and every single one was a banger. It was fucking amazing.
It is.
Yeah, honest to God, the way that he can strike a ball, unbelievable.
Do you know what? Who scored?
What about who scored?
Oh.
The website?
No, literally, who scored the goal?
Oh, Mo.
Mo scored to go 7th in the rankings over Kenny.
Over the
King.
King.
Hear the whole games thing taking place, of which I hate games as appearances. We've been through this 1,000 times. That he took 23,318 minutes to get to 172, and Kenny took 37,600 minutes to get to his 172 goals.
It's amazing. And after you doing all that stuff previously, if you noticed that LFC history now have minutes played.
Yes.
So you must be a happy man with that. But yeah, the Egyptian king now surpasses the king. So honest to God, what a moment. You know,
the only royal crowning I like this year.
Nice one, Rhodesy. At least that one won't get booed by the Cop faithful anyway as well. Anyway, right. We have the ball shortly in the net shortly afterwards. Brilliant header from Matic from a set piece, slightly offside. It was. I thought this was so unlucky. It would have been a beautiful goal because he was just basically using his body, wasn't he, to hold off the defender. And then but it was just about the front foot was offside. But after that. We talked about the 2 Villa big chances. That was basically the sum of Villa's attacking in the first half. And Si, we need to talk about this because we had 8 shots in that first half. 4 of them were for Nunez. He had 7 in the match in total, and 2 big chances for Darwin, both missed. I think it's fair to say you haven't got much hair, right? But Darwin had you tearing what's left of it out. Is that correct?
I find him more frustrated than most, and not in the internet way of like he's shit, he's not worth this money. It's that he's brain dead and he keeps making really dumb decisions. I'm fully aware of his talent. Like I'm only judging him against 24 minutes of goals and assists against what he should be getting because of his talent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not critical of his overall 124 minutes per goal or assist over his Liverpool career. I'm just saying that he reminds me very much of him. And you say he missed 2 big chances, but I actually think his biggest chance was the one he didn't even touch, which was a remarkable dummy to nobody at the near post early in the game, and he just left it. Like Mo was stood behind him, and there were 3 players between him and Mo. And no chance Mo called for it. It was the weirdest thing. And it would have just been a fairly simple left foot chance near post.
Yeah.
It's his decision-making that drives me insane. It's not even particularly his finishing. It's just because he can put the ball pretty much anywhere. It's his choice of where he's shooting that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But the boy is so fast. For leading into the last goal, he'd given 5 meters to one of the faster centre backs in the league, and he just burned him off.
Who's that? Conte?
In 10 meters, he'd gone past him. Yeah, Conte. Yeah. He was 3 meters deeper than him, and he got to a ball 2 meters beyond him.
And that was after 85 minutes of play.
Yeah. The boy is a physical behemoth.
The first thing he did in the match, on the first break he did, there was actually the first one he did where he didn't shoot and he dummied it to remote, which you mentioned one. The one after
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
The one after that was he was on the right-hand side of the box, and instead of shooting, he did try to play a cut across 2. It might have been Salah, it might have been Ox coming in. Anyway, and it was intercepted by the Villa. So that was the first time he did try a really good decision and roll it across. But I do agree with you that after that, it's almost like the first one or the first 2 get in his head, and then it sort of scrambles his decision making even more. If it doesn't come off. And
I'm not even saying he's greedy. I'm not even saying he's shooting when he should be passing. Because that does happen, but he also passes when he should there's an easy shot on. Completely dodges the ball when there's an easy shot on. His decision making is incredibly erratic. It's not that he's too greedy. I hope it can be talked into him.
Yeah, but that can be coached, I do wonder right?
How much. Pardon?
That can be coached, right?
Maybe. Like, you can't coach intelligence.
No, but I mean, he's still his English still isn't great. I mean, so that's going to make it harder to get these kind of things across.
Maybe when he was making a dummy. That Tyrone Mings shouted mine, and he shouted something, and he thought it was Mo shouting go over. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe there was a language thing going on. I don't know.
Rhodesy, you going to come in there?
Yeah, I think you can coach better decision making through huge amounts of repetition. You can't coach that instinctive intelligence that some footballers have got. But like you say, if you give him a huge sample of shots where he's gone for the far post and dragged it wide, you could get him coaching those angles and which are the better areas to try and finish. I think over repetition you could. Didn't Ronaldo say that was a huge thing for him? He couldn't finish for years, and then he had a session with Carlos Queiroz quote this all the time, where he did something like 10,000 shots when he was suspended over a 2-week period or something.
Wow.
And then suddenly became a great finisher. I'm sure it's in his book, and I heard it.
Yeah,
Over the World Cup being mentioned. But anyway, we'll see. There's other decisions that he does make. But still, he did mix 4 big chances in this game, Dan. I think 2 against Man City, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And then a couple of them weren't even classed as big chances, as Si says, because he didn't take a shot. So he could have had 9-10 big chances in 2 games.
Yeah.
I think he's down at 21% big chance conversion, which is that is.
He's also, I think, at 1.3, 1.4 big chances a game he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So didn't Mane go through a period like this?
Yeah, I'm not sure we've ever seen anybody accumulate the chances at this rate before.
No.
Which is now we're talking about things that you can coach into a player, right? One thing you cannot coach into a player is physical capacity and speed. And Opta put out some stats yesterday. They did,
if you're putting a whole industry out of business right now, Daniel.
Why?
There's an awful lot of people on the internet selling speed.
Oh, nice. But Adam Bates, Ghost Goal, one of the best ones, writes for Sky. It does infuriate me that every now and again he'll come up with an article which really goes deep on intensity and pressing and speed and high intensity runs and total distance, but because he's got access to it, but he only does it periodically. But they did one about Nunez yesterday, came out, and it turns out he's got the second highest top speed in the league. 36.53 kilometres an hour. Anthony Gordon, believe it or not, was top for Everton, 36.6. But most importantly, he had the 3rd most sprints per 90 in the Premier League. Rodrigo was top for Leeds. Can everybody remember who was second on that? Rodrigo. It wasn't anybody you'd think of, was it? I'm just looking for the list now. Oh, the one who plays for Brighton, Estepinian, plays for Brighton. Yeah. So Rodrigo was 26.6, Estepinian 26.4, Nunez 25.3, then Miggy Almiron 4th. Not surprising to me, the way Newcastle playing this season. And then Ryan Sessegnon, and he was 23.8. So, Si, that is a really good stat, isn't it? Sprints per 90.
Well, kind of, but one that I would like to discuss the thresholds because they're too low. That's not very much, not very many per game. But also, you say it can't be taught or can't be coached. Make this run here at this time. Make this run here at this time.
Oh, sorry, I meant the speed and the end. Yeah,
but the actual top speed, there is no arguing. He's a physical beast. Like he is one of the fastest players ever in the league. The league is full of the fastest players ever to play in the league.
Yeah.
So the top 50 fastest players ever to have played in the Premier League, probably 40 of them are playing right now.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Really?
but also the slowest meters per minute of any outfield player will be probably 30% higher than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So the minimum threshold, so the advantage has gone down anyway, because you don't have Robin running past some like Ruddock or something. Do you know what I mean? Like there are no, or John Terry. There are no really slow players anymore, apart from Milner. So there's no advantage against that. So the band of physical capacities are much closer than they've ever been before. But 36K is absolutely rapid. So 10 meters per second, you understand how world records occur. Like that's really, 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 really uber fast. I read this amazing thread by Visual Graphics. I don't know what he's
visual
called.
game, a visual game. Yeah,
he's doing a lovely little job putting pretty graphs together. And he's some of which I would argue with, but on Pele in particular today, because Pele died yesterday, there's an unbelievable thread. Everybody should read it. That's where it's at. He talks about all of these wonderful things, and I've completely lost my thread.
You were going to talk about something to do with speed on sprints.
Oh, yeah.
On visual game.
Yeah, he'd cited some New York Times piece from 1975 from when Pele went to New York Cosmos, and there's the same famous period in America where they're trying to measure baseball speed with radar guns, comparing it with takeoff speed of aeroplanes, and they had him at 11.1 seconds per 100 meters, over 100 meters, which is super fast, but there are probably 50 or 60 players in the Premier League right now who could run faster than that.
So if you had to do a full 100-meter sprint for Darwin, what would your money be on? What would your range be on his finish line speed for 100 meters?
Darwin, I would probably put Darwin in. I would put Darwin and then Virgil.
Do you reckon he could break it? Do you reckon he could break 11 seconds over 100 meters?
Oh God, yeah. Darwin would be like 10.6.
Wow.
Like Darwin might be the fastest player I've ever seen.
But Darwin could also do a 60 meters because he's got the acceleration, right? Van Dijk couldn't do the 60,
could he? Yeah, he has absurd acceleration for a huge guy.
Yeah.
And so we talk about top speed all the time. Top speed is opportunity anyway. So you need idiots like Villa to set up on the halfway line so he can run in behind, which won't happen against most teams. So that's not going to be the physical quality he has that's going to set him apart to give him advantage. It's how he gets from 0 to 5 meters per second. It's how quickly he can get from 0 to 5 meters per second is the thing that separates you. And he seems to have it.
That's what Mane had, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Mo, they can stop and start super fast. I've not seen Salah. I've not seen Darwin stop super fast, but and change direction like anything like those guys, because that's super hard at that height. I would never have seen it before, but he has insane searing acceleration for a huge guy, as does Haaland. And they're unicorns.
Is this what into physically? Yeah. So is this what you used to call a fast twitch guy? Is Darwin a fast twitch guy?
Oh my God, uber fast twitch, yeah. So you will see, if you look at Instagram, you will see like people jumping on boxes. And they use that as training, and look how much power I have. I can jump on a box. Most of the time, they're just lifting their feet really high. But like Darwin, so we do some, there is very significant correlation between how high you can jump and how quickly you can accelerate. Yeah. And NBA, they'll have like 40-inch vertical jumps. That's insane. And he'll be right up there with the twitchiest, best jumping, most athletic NBA players. So like Russell Westbrook, or I'm not sure LeBron could get there anymore, but yeah, like the most athletic humans on earth.
Mm. Yeah.
You'll see now, there was a video about Ronaldo on there like a few years ago. Sky did something, the sports science of Ronaldo. It was garbage, but they had him jumping and measured his leap. And now they measure everybody against Ronaldo's invented 2-meter jump, which is bullshit. But like Darwin, I'm not sure anybody has the leap that Darwin has. And to be fair, I don't watch Haaland enough to know. I'm guessing his is massive, but I've probably seen him actually play 10 times.
It's such a shame that we don't have the carries data on FBref anymore. That's the one big one we don't have, because that's what we're missing. Because if you look at the numbers for Nunez in this game, he had 0 dribbles. Opta gave him 0 dribbles, but he didn't, because he was running into space the whole time.
He didn't have to beat anybody.
Yeah, he had 5 meters of progressive passing. But if you were talking about his progressive distance, it would be phenomenal, and it would all be in the attacking half.
There are dudes that have it. Mark Arstats has progressive meters for.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't check him actually. Sorry. Yeah.
And it's you don't even have access to the sheet, but I put it in the sheet every week. And he has combined total who was the best progressive, whatever it was, combined for all that kind of stuff, and progressive receiving distance. Ollie Watkins had the most, and Darwin had the second.
Yeah, Darwin had the most in our team, didn't he? He had 8 progressive passes received as well. So
he was so high up the pitch.
Yeah. So we're talking about his sprints per 90, he was 3rd best in the Premier League. I can guarantee you he beat his season average way above his season average in this match, because he was running in behind the Villa defence. He was sprinting in behind the Villa defence from the first minute of the game, and he continued it for the whole 90 bloody minutes. I mean, Si, do you remember the 7-2, right? And I put it to you that this is basically what Villa did to us in the 7-2. They just ran in behind us and they launched the ball over the top, and Watkins and who's the lad who's now Ross Barkley and Grealish, they basically just got in behind us and shredded us, right? And we did exactly the same to them, especially with Van Dijk, Trent, and Robbo, just clipping, and Thiago, just putting balls over the top and through the channel for Nunez the whole fucking match.
And Salah.
And Salah as well. Yeah,
you're right. It was a really good example. It's almost identical in that they also scored 3 decent goals, but what we didn't have in this game that they had in that game is 4 deflected goals.
Yes, to be fair, that was true. But yeah, so there's your Nunez section. Rosie, do you want to? I'll give you the last word to you. I mean, huge potential to work on here. Incredibly frustrating in the short term, right?
Yeah, it's top quality stuff that as well on the speed and physicality element, that side. This, I would say, you've done a great chart on Nunez, comparing some of his metrics to
Harry Kane.
Kane's average across a huge sample.
Yeah,
I mean, he's above on most of them, if not all, apart from the conversion rate.
Yeah.
I'd like. What was his conversion rate across his career before he got you down? What was it, about 18?
Well, at the point we signed him, I mean, looking back on the signing part we did last January, he was 11.5 goals above expected over the previous 12 months. He'd scored 31 from 20 XG in the previous 12 months. So the boy can finish. It's clear, but yes.
And had some other samples, and that's my only criticism so far. Obviously, there's decision making.
Yeah.
As well. I think that comes to the same discussion around chance conversion. So, just calm down a bit, lad, when you're taking a shot.
But can I add it in from contextual perspective of this season alone that the difference? So Liverpool are top of the league, is that right, in XG?
Depends. Yeah, pretty much. Some models were top, some were second or third. Yeah.
Yeah. So under stat, we're at 33.
Yeah.
XG, which is the highest. Oh, this was before City. So City are at 34 now because they had 4 XG, didn't they? So we're second but per 90 we're top. But the difference between the XG we produce and the post shot XG that we make goalkeepers save, has only Everton worse.
True.
So we're 19th in the league at converting XG into post-shot XG.
Yeah, we just need to find those corners, don't we? Hit the target and find those corners. God.
Yeah, hit the target, stop hitting it down the middle. But would you not describe that as Darwin's problem?
Yeah, some of it is. Yeah, so definitely some of it is straight.
No, I'm not saying Darwin is the cause of all of this. That's not what I'm saying. Is if somebody was going to be critical of Darwin, what they would say is he shoots down the middle or he shoots wide.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's literally manifested itself into, it represents how the team has been.
Yeah. I think his highest quality one on the match, Rhodesy, was the last one he had at about 75 when it was 2-1, and he just sort of dragged it wider with his left foot, dragged it wider the far post, didn't he?
Yes, that he made exactly the same run that Salah did when Salah made a big chance for himself as well and hit it straight at the keeper. This was Nunez and he dragged it wide.
Yeah, off a lovely break as well. That was his biggest one of the match. But that came from a press as well, that one, I think. Matip, he gave that. He did, yeah.
Can we, Darth, how many big chances did we give up in this game, Dan?
4.
So the opposite of what I just said about our attack, we have Alisson in goal.
Yeah.
Who has saved more post-shot XG than anybody else.
Yeah.
He has saved 8.3 post-shot XG.
Yeah.
And the second best in the league has 3. So we are 5 goals down.
Saved 2 in this game, did Alisson.
Yeah. So we are 5 goals down. We're actually 4 below. So the difference between our XG and our post shot is 4 below league average.
Yeah.
And the difference between our XG and post shots, our actual goals conceded and post shot is 8.3, which is 7 above average for the league.
Yeah.
So that's 12 goal swing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So we easily could be the lowest. Because we're only 12 points above relegation. We easily could be in relegation.
That's right.
Without
Alisson. Yeah.
But what would those 5 goals difference be if we were just an average conversion team as well from attack? We would easily be in top 4 as well.
Yeah, exactly. And on the season review pods we did over the World Cup break, we said one of the things that had to carry on was Alisson's form. And he conceded 1, but he faced 1.7 post shot XG, so it was still 0.7 better. So that is a really good sign that Alisson comes straight back out of it and had another good game. So one of the other things we pointed about in the post review show, season review pod, was that we highlighted 3 players in particular who had to have big improvements after the World Cup break: Virgil van Dijk, Fabinho, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Rhodesy, I put it to you that all 3 of those players were significantly better than before the World Cup in this match. Yeah,
massively so. We spoke about Trent's pass, but I thought his overall game was good. There were more switches, and definitely a couple of top quality switches as well to Robbo. Fabinho, like we said, a bit more conservative with Thiago tucked in. Helped the defence have a
Trent had most passes in the match as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're talking about systemic, but if you look at the average position map, the most of our play is between Salah, Henderson, and Trent is on that side of the pitch. Fabinho helped out with that. He was coming across more to that side when he was on the ball. And Virgil, I thought Virgil was superb throughout the whole game. Most of their chances, I think there was one chance, was it the Ollie Watkins, or a later one where he gets in at the back post, in between Robbo and Virgil, one chance maybe, but I think that was a good cross. Most of their targeting was between Trent and Matip, and Ollie Watkins did well there, but again there was perfectly played balls in between them both. So how much Trent was to blame for that?
Si, you must be pleased that Virgil put in a good performance when it wasn't against a big opponent, right?
Yeah, he came back playing well, didn't he?
That's a good sign, right? Because you said, he was a bit of a vanity player. It was just when he got it for City, he got it for Napoli or Ajax, and then, he kind of phoned it in a few times. But this was a run-of-the-mill game, right?
Yeah, you think it's a run-of-the-mill game. But maybe we can do that thing that they talk about all the time, in that this is a cup final every game to the end of the season now. And maybe he's not quite over the hill. Because I do think that there's an age thing that comes into playing in big games. Older players can get up for big games, but they can't get up for every game. So they have to pick and choose, and they choose the big games. And I do wonder about that. And hopefully he can stave it off for another season. So Konate can properly, bed down that he is a absolute starter and a class of a centre back.
I actually thought, though, he was genuinely good defensively in this match.
Me too. I thought he was great. He was good defensively. He looked like Virgil. He was good in possession as well. And I think the spacing between our defence and midfield worked really well. But I also think Villa are shit.
Although they do have a good mistakes. Forward. Yeah, they do. Yeah, exactly. No mistakes. And he made 13 clearances, blocks, and interceptions, which is the most in the match. So, and that's it. He did clear a lot of danger coming into the box as well, and properly cleared it as well. So, I thought this was a very good sign for Trent, a very good sign for Fabinho. So, with those three together, if they can, let's see if they can keep it up against Leicester and then Brentford for starters. And if we're still talking about this after Brentford, then potentially we are on for a good second half of the season.
Yeah, I think these are two real key games for this team, like for a lot of the players in this team, because I think Thiago didn't have a great game in this game.
No, actually. Yeah.
But he also had minus 11 possession control.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which could easily cost us against a better team.
Yeah.
Because if he's losing possession, that's in the middle of the pitch, and I know he is better when we lose possession than other players, in that he already, when he makes a risky pass, he makes sure that we're already set to be countered on. Whereas other players don't. They just make the risky pass when we're already in a risky position structurally as well. So he's better at doing that, but it's still way too high. Between him and Ox, they were minus 23. So they were losing all possession down that side, which is why they attacked down that side.
Yeah.
And they weren't greatly winning it back, though Thiago still had 8 recoveries and interceptions, which is quite high for midfield, but so he was a bit loose. So my point is that he can be much better, and I think he'll need to be against Leicester. Against Brentford, it's going to be really important that Virgil is good, because they're so good in the air. So
yes, him and Matip both need to be.
Yeah, so for different players, it's important that they are at their best in different games in the next 2 matches.
Yeah. Leicester without Maddison, which I think is going to help us. Also, Villa, maybe we benefited down that left by them having to play the 108-year-old Ashley Young rather than Matty Cash, with all that. Given how much we gave the ball away down there. But
yeah, sure.
So one thing that, Rhodesy, we need to say, maybe it still needs a lot of work, is the pressing. So I don't know if you saw the stuff all the images I posted, but so low intensity, low quality in terms of possession wins, very little systemic chain, pressing chain low again, no groups.
Tiny amount of groups.
Yeah, and then we're doing this thing that was kind of stopping. You get to the final third with the press, and then that's it, no more. Virtually nothing past that line of the final third. And I was thinking about this, and I thought, okay, what are the consequences of this, right? What are the consequences of these 3 things? So first of all, what it means is that the opposition now these days, this season, are having way more passes without pressure than previously when they play Liverpool.
Yeah.
So we had 153 presses, and we had 52% of the ball. That's not particularly good ratio, and that's when you see the Papa chart in the blue zone. Most of the match was in the blue zone. Yeah. Previously, we've been like having 68% of the ball and having 170 presses. So way more of the opposition's passes were under pressure from a Liverpool player, at least one Liverpool player. So that obviously has an impact when the opposition players don't have any pressure on them when they're passing. Secondly, is that in the final quarter of the pitch, I looked at the corresponding 6 games since the Brighton game. We didn't collect West Ham for personal reasons, but we got the other 6 games there, and I compared them to 6 games last season, and we are 33% volume lower in the final quarter of the pitch. Now, I thought the way to describe that is that allows the opposition defence immediately. They're the biggest beneficiaries of being able to play without pressure.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
And then the other one, which is the low chain, very low chain and low group, it's almost like there's no systemic press now. It's very, very solo and it's almost like you press from your specific position in the team on your direct opponent and you don't really come out of shape. And it's almost like we're not even trying to counter press anymore. So I don't know how much of that you saw in this game, Rhodesy.
I think there's two elements here. One, we scored early. So traditionally when you score, teams then come at you. When they came at us, we dropped off, definitely. They had two big chances on 14 and 16 minutes. And then I thought it was interesting. If you look at the Papa chart, there's then a burst of intensity from us, from like the 20th minute up until we score our second goal.
Yeah.
And then it drops off again. And I thought that was our best period in terms of pressing in the match. I thought there were a few possession wins there, maybe one that led to a shot. And then you've got a little period after half time when I thought we were abject in terms of structurally, when there's another little period of intense pressing. But there was a lot of fails there. There was a lot of individual pressing. People weren't going in packs like what we've seen in the past. Nobody knows when or if to go with Nunez. But then overall, in the tactical context, Dan, we were just praising the fact that we had a lot of runs in behind, a lot of progressive movement. So if we are sitting back in that middle third and letting them come to us a little bit, and then we can feed those two ultra-fast players we've got up front, maybe it's a tactical element. If you look
you can't counter-press, can you? When there's 60 minutes, and when there's 60 metres behind your front man, Nunez, and your midfield and your defence, you can't counter-press in that situation.
Not if you want to release him and use his pace.
Yeah.
But then I would say that period until they scored, we were really bad. We weren't doing any of I think it was the Salah chance, but he kind of made that himself, but was running into space from a set piece. But the other stuff, you wouldn't be able to do that. But we were still structurally bad anyway because they created two chances. But then my final point is, after their goal, if you look at the XG map, they didn't have another chance.
No,
we completely controlled the game after that.
I think we made some good. The subs improved us.
Yeah. So it was bad periods, but really encouraging periods.
But on the pressing, though, the Villa game was a continuation of what we've seen previously, wasn't it? In terms of the patterns of So, but maybe we have to say
more in groups, but that comes with cohesion. That comes with playing together a lot. That's where the group press and the pressing chains come from, I think.
Yeah, but maybe we are changing. Maybe we're witnessing a change of team style. And this is the way the data is reflecting it in the pressing.
It is this season.
Yeah. Si, any thoughts on that?
It wouldn't surprise. It's good. It gets down on in the data, like what is happening on the pitch, and for sure we are dropping. And I would go as far as saying we're waiting probably 80% less in terms of when we're going to press. So instead of an incessant Gegen, I think we're waiting for specific moments. And we are less, and we're dropping off to entice the opposition forward so that there is more space in behind. And idiots like Villa will happily take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And they did create some chances, but they also left themselves so open to very simple balls over the top to two of the fastest players in the world.
So, Si, do you think that letting the opposition have having more passes without any pressure, it's all part of that enticing them forward a bit.
Yeah.
So allow us to play more counter-attack and more.
But you still need their compliance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams, Mourinho's team wouldn't, the game state dependent. So for the first 60 minutes, if it was 0-0, they would just happily become Brighton and just pass the ball amongst the centre backs completely unpressured because they didn't care, and they would just get their centre backs 150 touches each. And then in the last 30 minutes of the game, they might try to gain some territory by knocking balls into channels. And Villa got 10% long ball rate in this game. That's City and Liverpool get 10% long ball rate. They weren't trying to do the things that have been very visible this season in being our weakness, which is absurd. What are they doing? Like, have they not seen Liverpool play before? So they were doing the things that we criticise over the years Bournemouth for or Arsenal for. Yeah. They were playing the ball around at the back, and we didn't press them in the way that we usually would, but it allowed them to feel comfortable, move the ball through them centre of midfield where we could capture them on the second line, because they were playing a box, and then we will break. So it didn't look like high pressing from our perspective, but we were allowing them the first two lines of possession and then capturing the ball back on the third line.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, Dan, after the 32nd minute, we had less possession than Villa,
we did.
All the periods after that subsequently.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely right. Si, so Virgil scores a nice goal, Watkins scores a nice goal. Talk about the subs. Did they make us? I thought they made us better. Si, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought Henderson played really well in the thing that he does now. You don't set up a team hoping for good structural defense with Henderson in the team, but he actually can really provide some attacking impetus in that he gets the ball forward quickly, he carries the ball forward quickly. He's very forward-thinking, attacking player when he's doing these things, but the consequence of which leaves holes. But it didn't in this game, in that he wasn't punished. So it actually, his output was very beneficial to Liverpool. But I quickly like to talk on those two goals. First, really, and it's Mo obviously, but it was a really heads up smart play. Great awareness from Mo to be able to pick out Virgil under the number of players that are in the box, and a lovely finish from Virgil, even though it was going wide, but left foot swinger, great, awesome. And their goal was terrible. It was terrible from our perspective, and it needs talking about more in that they had three players complete with absolutely no pressure. They had two players in the box that ran our centre backs underneath the ball, leaving the back one exposed. In a gap behind Matip, because Matip was originally marking him. Then they had a player run across him, so it dragged Matip's attention away. And Trent was 5 yards further away, so he couldn't get back. So it looked terrible on Trent. With communication, which should always come from Virgil because he's the leader, that they would have been tighter, more compact, and they wouldn't have been dragged over the way they were. And so Matip should have been marking Watkins, or Trent should have been blocking him, and they should have had one of the midfielders coming round in fear of whoever was on the left wing still, but wasn't near enough to goal. So structurally, that was a terrible goal to concede. And the subs worked for us because Bajcetic scored. So it was exciting, and it kind of worked.
Just a couple of
not sure how much.
A couple of things that stood out for me, say, was first of all, nice to see Naby Keita finally back. Harvey playing left wing rather than anywhere more centrally on the right, and also Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez playing fullback only, and I don't want to be mean to the players, but I just think that there's a lot to be said by taking those players out of the central positions and having just a team of men from the start, to be honest. Senior players and men. I honestly think there's a lot to be said for, and I'd like to see us against Leicester and Brentford particularly, just let's have a really experienced starting 11, and then let's bring the kids on if necessary after the hour mark of the game, the game's won. Just freshen it up.
Sign me up. Treat Elliott like Foden.
Okay.
Yeah, Naby, Bajcetic and Elliott were the three most intense pressers once they came on, which you would expect
Yeah, which is good.
In terms of, yeah.
Like you said, Villa didn't have a shot, so they gave a little bit of injection of energy, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so good win back. And then we signed a player about 4 hours after the final whistle. I believe it was. Or maybe even less, actually. Maybe about 2 hours. Do we want to say anything about Cody Gakpo? Rhodesy?
Well, I'll give Paul Tompkins's line, which is it, and something we were discussing earlier. He's definitely tall. he's got the physicality.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a little lad like against Man City, I think, counting earlier, was it 7 we had to say? 7 small lads. It does help with that. He's got similarities to Nunez in terms of he's on a hot streak in terms of conversion, Dan.
Yes, last year he's 9 goals above his XG in the last year.
He has got a huge amounts of assists as well this season. His expected assist numbers are in the top percentile across the last 12 months. Again, a lot of like his set plays. He's about half done. He does whip in a good corner and free kick.
Yeah, I saw Michael Cayley say that 40% of his XA numbers in his career are set plays. That's a big number.
Yeah, it is. So you would expect the good amount of shots, 3.5 of the game. That's a good sample. That's up there with Salazar's seasons at 3.5. So that's quite a high volume of shots. So it seems to have both elements to his game.
He dribbles a lot, for sure.
Apart from dribbles a lot, yeah. Apart from the that outrageous speed that we've been talking about with Nunez and Salah, and to an extent, lesser extent, Diaz. So I'm interested in how he's going to fit in. Really interested, because I'm not quite sure he's got the same profile as Diaz. He seems to be more of a creator. I don't know if that's what we're going to.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. So, Si, any thoughts on Cody Gakpo?
I'm expecting to be very much like Diaz. I think he's a little bit more tactically refined, because Dutch footballers tend to.
Yeah, it didn't look like that on the video, but I see the profile.
Yeah.
It looks.
You think he's a street baller?
No, I think less. I think he's a bit more of a creator, whereas Diaz is kind of predictable. Hard to stop at times, but predictable in what he's going to do. I think Gakpo can go both ways in terms of the dribble. I think he's got a far better delivery in play and obviously from set pieces. Better finisher when he does get in the box. But I don't think he's anywhere near.
I'm expecting to be less erratic. I'm expecting to be much more like an academy product that we create in England that's got good skill that can. But his talent is that he can go past people. But I think he probably will adapt to a system quicker than both Darwin and Diaz. In that we had to adapt our system to suit them because their game didn't suit the system, or they didn't take instruction on so quickly, or the language issues, whatever it is.
Yeah, he speaks good English, that's for sure.
He speaks good English, and a thing we don't discuss in England is tactical acuity. And in England, here's me stereotyping, but stereotyping from a lot of experience. English footballers tend to be a type of kid who doesn't study hard at school. So this isn't an intelligence thing. This is a skill at learning thing. They are academy products from so young in their life that they never acquire the skill.
Gakpo seems to be a bit of a sponge, doesn't he? Which is good.
Dutch players tend to be.
Yeah.
That's my point. They
will continually learn.
They learn more easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people that have been in a formal education for a longer period of their life actually take on tactical situations better, and they can be coached in the way that you were talking earlier, that you think Darwin can be coached. I think you need a capacity for learning, and I think that's higher. That's going to be higher in a Dutch player. So I'm kind of optimistic about this. My only reservations about this is that it stops us buying somebody else. Like, I like him. He looks like a good player to me. I think he fits in the squad, and like, he can be a very positive addition. And as we pointed out earlier, we're creating plenty of XG. We're just not converting it very well. And I think there's a good chance that he will help with that.
I think there's definitely a chance.
Whilst not creating more structural problems. That's the issue.
So I think his number one thing is I think he could be an above average finisher in terms of his conversion against XG, which is great news for us, as that's what we need as a team most of anything. He looks to be a very, very good striker with the ball. Maybe he could be second only to Trent once he comes into our 11, which is pretty impressive. The one reservation I've got is on the he's going to have to start doing a shitload more work than he has done previously.
Possibly, yeah.
And intensity wise. So say you got some numbers from the World Cup with him. So his top speed was 33.7. So how do you put that in the context of forwards? 33.7 kilometres an hour.
Fast enough.
But not.
Yeah, it's fast enough.
Yeah, but he's not Darwin, so he's a little bit below that. Yeah.
I even think you would put in some. I just think it's unfair. I think that 33.7 is rapid. It's just that Darwin is like different. Yeah. Darwin, Mane, they're different. They have a different level of speed.
Yeah.
But like, you being able to get to 34k, that's properly fast.
Yeah. Now it could be Louis van Gaal tactics, but there wasn't much in his intensity, was there, in the World Cup? That's for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the issues, is that I've seen him. This is not me saying he's not fit enough to play in Liverpool system. And Liverpool system is transitioning away a little bit, maybe, from the intensity. But Klopp's teams tend to be like the most intense, or one of the 5 most intense teams in the league. And at the World Cup, there were 78 forwards that played 200 minutes or more that were more intense than Cody Gakpo. Yeah. That's a lot. That's 78 forwards out of 32 teams. That's a lot.
And he was, StatsBomb put out a player radar, and he was bottom percentile, first percentile for pressures on the StatsBomb model against all forwards, which again, it could be a product of his system with the PSV. Apparently the current coach doesn't press, whereas the previous guy did, but there's not much in his Opta data there going back in previous seasons either. So big number one thing for him to work on is his work rate and his intensity and getting into the Klopp system. And obviously, Rhodesy will be looking forward to collecting that pressing data.
Well, I did the Y Scout, so they give you 2 options. You can make your own clips with a variety of different attributes. So you can have a look at Y Scout's own individual player report on him. And I watched that before I did my own. And that was 10 minutes long. And there wasn't one defensive pressure in there as part of what he contributes to his team, whereas usually these trying to have a wide range of attributes. So there's your 1%.
Shout out to Jock the Chalk on Discord. You won't have seen this, Si, but you know who he said player from the past for him?
Who?
Chris Waddle.
I get it.
Dribbler, foot like a sledgehammer, maybe not much work rate.
But can I preface this by, because it sounds really hypercritical, would we be having the same conversation had we signed Mbappe?
Oh yeah, because he doesn't press at all.
Mbappe is one of those players, those 9 players that ran less than him.
Yeah, a complete luxury player. You're basically playing with 10 without the ball.
Yeah.
And is he good? Is Gakpo good enough to be a luxury player? Not quite sure based on his profile, but there's definitely things to work with.
Yeah. Or is he so technical that the coach just creates? So he's basically been playing as a 10, but not in the centre of the pitch.
But you've got to be so good to be a luxury player at Liverpool.
That's what I'm saying. Is he that? I don't know. It's potential. It's possible.
Yeah.
I told you before the game, but I was speaking to a friend who's a Dutch coach yesterday, and he reckoned that he would be surprised if he didn't end up being the attacking 8.
Interesting. I guess one of these ones, like in terms of our squad, he's like the Shaqiri player, and he's not intense enough to play midfield. he doesn't do enough in attack, but does he get caught between two stools? But, he's 23, like you said, he learns, so he's young enough to improve. But definitely things that he'll need to work on in his game with Liverpool. Anyway, a new player. Hallelujah. Anyway, we will be back. We think we can get this pod out before, later today. So you might be able to listen to it before Leicester.
Do it, guy, you lazy git.
one quick thing, Dan. Bajcetic's goal was lovely.
Yes.
And great to see Ben Doak put Digne on his ass.
Yeah. Well, he looks a talent. And we will be back after the Brentford game for a double header of Leicester and Brentford. Until then, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.